Thank you all for you who joined us for the pre-show game. It was quite exciting to play. For me to watch, and I'm sure it was great for Mike and Tom to enjoy. But let's just get right into introductions before we start with our sponsors. We have tonight myself, Jason, Mike, Tom.
Hello, everyone.
And joining us special this week is Wesley. Now, you want me to go as your full name, Wesley Allen Summer or Wesley Summer?
Wesley Summers is fine.
Wesley Summers from HCAtlas.com, our newest sponsor. So say hello to everybody, Wesley.
Hi.
He's the forgotten love child of Gene and Scott.
I get that a lot. You know, I'm an X-Men fan, so
I listened to your thing this weekend actually on Suplex. Yeah, talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. And of course, as always, we are brought to you in part by HCRealms.com. Check out their shop, realmsgaming.com, while you're futzing around on there. Get some cool stuff. And today is Cyber Monday, and they have 25% off of any purchase of $10 or more. And if you use the coupon code MARRIED on your way out on the shop page, you also get an additional 10% off of that. There's nothing wrong with 35% off of your purchase. If you
Sounds good to me.
I'm going to do it.
So check it out at realmsgaming.com, and while you're there, check out hcrealms.com, your one source for all kinds of Heroclix use. Check out the units section. It's great for building your teams. The forums always has great discussion going on at all times. And look for updates from our channel, even in the AV section. I believe we're regularly posting there. Amber has given me the yes, we still do that. I didn't want to get in too deep on that. Also, check out Majestic, ccg.com/apex-insiders for some insight from some high-level HeroClix players. It's a premium membership to get in. I believe it's $3 per month, and you get articles from such awesome people as Josh Ernest, Patrick Iboko, Easton Brock, Paris Gordon, Kevin Afruz. Mike's going to be putting up articles, Aaron Cantu, and Thiago Pinto da Luz from Brazil, the Brazilian national champion, and occasionally some goon named Jason Collins puts in articles. In fact, I put one up this weekend about getting into the meta game mindset. Once again, that's ccg.com/apex-insiders for some insights into some great HeroClix minds. And we also have one other sponsor, and that is Altas.com. Wesley, how about you take it away on telling you what you guys do over there?
Sure. So HC Atlas is a subscription-based service that we design unique maps and deliver them to our members every single month. $25 is the subscription service cost, and our first month is actually ending tonight, and we are shipping Gettysburg out hopefully next week. And Gettysburg will be delivered to all of our members' doors. If you saw the pregame show, or the pre-show game, whatever. The map that they were playing on was actually Gettysburg. It was the map that you will be getting in the mail with your membership. Next month, we are going to be doing a Zombie Apocalypse downtown Nashville. Nashville is actually where I'm located at. So there will be some cool Z-Virus, Orange Terrain stuff going on there that I think people will really enjoy.
That actually sounds exciting. And I think when you said Zombie Apocalypse, I'm pretty sure 4 more people just subscribed at 8
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I really am trying to get some really creative content out there that I think people will enjoy. And creativity, fun, quality, you know, those are the things that I'm looking for in a good map.
Yeah. Now,
Mike is showing it off again.
Main screen it. This is your look at Gettysburg in person. Mike, if you want to take 1 or 2 steps back so you can get a whole look at the map.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the map. You got these really cool trenches that have some awesome rules to kind of represent trench warfare. And of course, it being based on Civil War, why not give your first run with it an actual Civil War theme, as we did earlier today with an Iron Man versus Captain America type team. Yep. So that said, I'm just gonna introduce yourself a little bit more to the people. You're not just a map maker. You're, in fact, a pretty good player of Heroclix. You did fairly well at Rock World Cup, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate to come in third at the Cup, which was awesome. Definitely not how I expected to do it my first Cup. And throughout the year, I've placed in 4 top 8s at ROCs. Excuse me, around the Southeast United States. So I've done okay this year, and actually coming in third in the Cup is what allowed me to essentially start this business, because I was able to take my winnings for the Cup and just put it directly into HC Atlas. So I mean, the money came from you guys, and it's coming right back to you with cool maps. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been playing Heroclix? Obviously, you've had to have been playing it for a little bit to be getting into this kind of idea.
Well, actually, I had played Infinity Gauntlet and Clobber Time, the first 2 sets. I was playing the Lord of the Rings card game made by Decipher, if anyone remembers that.
Yeah.
And I sold all of my Lord of the Rings cards to buy into Infinity Gauntlet and Clobber Time. And then I went to college and said, "Oh, I can't do clicks and college. This isn't going to work out." So I stopped playing for a long time, and I actually just picked it up again last year, and I did my first ROC towards the very end of last year. And I went into my first ROC not even knowing what entities were. I totally didn't keep up with anything at all. And so I've been very fortunate to do as well as I have so quickly.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's good to have another player being in charge of making some awesome stuff in regards to the game, and we look forward to more and more maps and possibly seeing you on the show in the future as well. But in the meantime, let's have you join the conversation, and let's start talking a little bit of the news. Not much out there. Heroclix.com did have a neat little top Apocalypse team building article. That's okay, but more exciting was a new addition to the OP kit pool, and that is the Abominable Snowman. So, the Abominable Snowman is a giant, indomitable giant with the winter or the snowfall team ability, which is a wildcard team ability. He's got ignores elevated terrain, and he's also a giant. Now, this has caused some confusion in people, and I've mentioned to some that there's enough effects out there that turn a giant into not a giant anymore. There's green light that can turn you earthbound, and Mr. Mix's Pitlick that can make it tiny or small. So it's just that whole idea of the monkey, just because he's small, didn't forget to climb. Anyway,
it is a little bit redundant, but not all the way redundant.
It's a little out there, but there will be instances where it occurs. I feel like the giant was added at the last second, maybe. So at the end of your turn, place an action token on all opposing characters adjacent to the Abominable Snowman with an equal or lower point value. 148. It's a lot of characters you can put action tokens on. Is he actually 150? He's 148 listed here.
Now with his card and style match.
All right, so this is apparently the preview is incorrect, and he actually comes in at 150, which actually adds a lot more figures to that effect.
Really? Because he's 148 on HC Realms actually too.
Yeah,
because they made it off of the
HC Realms based off this preview, I guess.
Fair enough.
And that would make a difference in my point build, actually.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah,
not mine. I have the points to spare.
I think that I got my build now. Anyway, that said, he is traded with stealth, and he's got a special power late in his dial. The Abominable Snowman can use an incapacitate within range of 6. When he does, he deals his printed damage value to hit characters in addition to normal effects. So let's go around the table. Mike, what do you think of the Abominable Snowman?
He's very abominable. And he's a snowman. I like the fact that he's got the wild cards. I love wild cards in general. I didn't use that in my my team build, as you'll see shortly. Mine's a little bit tongue in cheek though. But I mean, he's not half bad for his point value. He's nothing. I wouldn't call him competitive, but I do really like his at end of turn trait, which is at the end of the turn, place an action token on all opposing characters adjacent to Abominable Snowman with equal or lower point value. So, great little tie-up with a little bonus that he'll keep a lot of characters there unless they want to take push damage, or it may actually even cause push damage in some cases. Later in his dial, he's got that special attack power, Incapacitate, so once again, it's just adding more tokens. You can kind of see the theme here. He just wants to give you a big old hug. And, I mean, it's just weird that he has stealth. Although, I mean, that kind of goes with the whole Bigfoot Yeti thing. Nobody's taking a picture of him, so I can kind of see it thematically. Yeah, the improved moving thing, I think they made this character long before they chose to change the size rules. I think that's probably what happened in this particular case. Although, you know, you did point out that if he does somehow become earthbound neutralized, it's still fine. And he can still clamber over things. Stats aren't half bad, but he is half of your total point build in a modern game. So, you know, being 150 points, he's substantially unusable in certain scenarios. I do love Battle Fury. That's pretty much all I have to say.
All right. Tom?
Mike said most of what there is to say, so I guess I'll just say it all again, only slower. You got to assume that he's got an awful lot of points tied up in that trait of giving out action tokens for free, because otherwise it's very hard to justify 150 points for this dial. That being said, you know, although this is the Meta Lab and everything is seen through a Meta lens, he seems like he's a fun piece to play, or at least he seems like he would be a fun piece to play. He has a lot of options with the wild card, and you can hardly ask for anything better than a wild card who already has stealth, so you don't even have to bother with your Batman allies. Just go straight to your Mystics or something else that you want to borrow. And honestly, at the end of your turn, placing action tokens on adjacent characters of equal lower point value, in theory, it seems just kind of annoying. I think in practice, it would be incredibly annoying. And so, in a way, I can see there being an awful lot of points tied up in that, because that's even more powerful, I think, than it seems at first glance. Otherwise, yeah, what Mike said is pretty much true. I don't know that I think that he's the most competitive piece I've seen recently, but he does seem like a piece that is fun and probably more aggravating than you give him credit for being. That's all I have to say.
All right. Wesley?
Yeah, I'm going to echo basically what the guy said. I think that trait may be a little bit overcosted. For 150 points, I don't know that that's entirely worth it. But it is a really, really good trait, and there are definitely some mechanics that can be built around action tokens and how many action tokens your opponent has on them. And also, just if you could keep your opponent based and prevent them from breaking away. And just have him tie up permanently. That becomes a real problem, because then whoever he is adjacent to effectively never rests. So there's a lot to be said for that.
I immediately considered an orange power battery when thinking that. Plasticity and barrier. Think you're actually going to get away? No.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around all the new giant size rules. They changed how plasticity and different sizes interact now, right? So like Atomica can no longer force normal or giant size characters. Her plasticity essentially no longer works on them, right?
Right.
But
because he's a giant, it will be colossals that won't be stopped by him.
Yeah.
Right.
It goes down.
And not much is stopping colossals in most cases anyway.
Yeah, they can kind of do what they want.
Yeah.
Whatever, I go where I want.
I go what I want.
Yeah. I can definitely see myself using this in a tournament where I don't care.
Yeah, I love those tournaments.
Unless I find something absolutely amazing with him in the next couple months, which I highly doubt. I don't see myself taking him to a major tournament, though. I don't know. Stranger things have happened, and I've had more success with my jokes than I've had success with my serious-faced teams. So. Maybe you will see me with the Abominable Snowman on the market.
It reminds me a lot of Iron Nail. Sorry to cut you off there, but it does remind me a little bit of Iron Nail. Only cheaper.
Can you wildcard to Hyper Time or Kingdom Come?
Yeah.
I believe
both those are abilities uncopyable, I think, right?
They are uncopyable. I thought they might be.
I thought that Hyper Time was copyable. I'm pretty sure it was.
I'm double checking right now. Just a second here. Hyper Time.
I just think it would be funny to have him set up in such a way that you can't get next to him, but he gets next to you and you don't go anywhere.
What's the verdict?
I have to double check, but it looks like it is copyable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I've actually played in a. I mean, unless I was cheating unintentionally, I've played with the Prime Outsider and Catwoman. And Catwoman stole Hyper Time, and it made her immensely better.
Wow.
Yep,
That's
it can be
awesome.
copied.
Yeah.
Well,
It doesn't actually make Abominable Snowman any better, but I enjoy the irony of you can't get next to me, but all I want to do is get next to you.
Yeah.
That makes him into Alf, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's weird. When it comes to the Hyper Time team ability, there's not a great deal of characters that you can actually fit on a team with the Abominable Snowman that will have that.
That's true.
That Outsider, I do believe you mentioned, because I think everything's like 150 plus that has that team ability.
Yeah.
I think the next the only modern piece that I know that has it, there's a Zoom that has it, right? That's modern age that has Hypertime.
Yep.
Well,
There is-
so does. I just mentioned the Outsider Prime.
Yeah, the Outsider
Oh,
Prime
yeah.
you're talking about.
And Kingdom Come, obviously, Flash has Kingdom Come.
And then like there's the experienced Super Doom would be reasonable, but he's still 175. There's Professor Zoom at 150, so you could do Zoom and the what's it called there? The Yeti,
Mm-hmm.
or Outsider and the Yeti.
That's 300 even, yeah, with Zoom.
Yeah.
But Outsider does give you a little bit of room for some support.
Yeah. Anyway, just distant thoughts on that idea that I think Tom just presented as a joke.
Kind of, yeah.
All right, and let's go right into our builds with the Abominable Snowman, because we like to do this thing where we build a team with our monthly OP kit builds, and come up with ideas, because everybody always wants to know what we would do with these monthly OP kit figures. So I'm gonna let what's that?
Lose. That's what I would do with it.
Quite a
come
bit.
on.
Lose often.
And spectacularly.
Oh, some of them are so good,
Amazing
though.
fashion. I'd make sure it was a fashionable loss. I'm gonna let Mike take the lead.
What, would you wear a scarf? Like, how would you make it fashionable?
Well,
Scarf, like some sunglasses, a cool hat.
Yeah, there.
if I put effort into it, it's fashionable. All right.
All right, cool.
I don't usually put effort in, so so I'm often unfashionable. And
You already are a Yeti of sorts, and this piece is well made for you.
I was gonna say, when I asked them to make a figure in my likeness, I didn't think they'd take me so literally on it. But it's short, a little hair.
Terrible. And some chicken wings, like, stuck in there. I don't know.
Yeah, right in the beard. All right, Mike. What's your
Oh, is it me?
abominable build?
All right. Here, I'll share my screen. Let's make it easy here. No porn up. Okay, good. There we go. Okay. So here, I'll zoom it in. It's a little easier to see. So, Abominable Snowman. This is kind of a joke for me. I just wanted to have some fun, but I looked at the team and it actually could work. So, it's Abominable Snowman. We've just gone over him, what he does. Then we got Mr. Mixes Pitlick, and he complements Abominable Snowman really well. I mean, he and Abominable Snowman make it possible for Krampus to be able to capture people and get back home, and then you win the game because he captured. And it's thematic. Come on, Mary Infamous. So yeah, Mr. Mixes Pitlick. I mean, we saw recently with Patrick's win at that ROC. He is really a force to be reckoned with for 70 points. I mean, get him to his second click. That pulse wave is ridiculous because basically you're doing it 3 times in a row, tying up the opposing characters 3 times in a row. And your guys can be right there, and it doesn't matter because you don't have to give them any tokens at all. You're giving the opposing team, you're just basically incapacitating 3 times in a row because when you have the pulse wave triggered, yes, the tokens don't say cause push damage, but you're ignoring their willpower because of pulse wave. So you're doing 3 damage to anything 3 times in a row, almost anything anyway. There's always going to be a couple little exceptions. And the reason I say 3 times in a row is because he makes himself a colossal for that 3rd time, and he can do that 3rd action in a row. You know, he'll damage himself to his next thing, but he's done his job. I mean, he's kept them tied up for 3 turns, while these 2 jerks do what they have to do. This guy, on top of that, will give them tokens on the next turn anyway. So if any of the opposing team doesn't want to push themselves possibly to death at that point, they're going to have to wait another turn and clear, right? I mean, and then take another token. So it's just crazy tie-up. But Krampus, come on. I've been trying to make Krampus work forever. He is crazy. He's one of the only characters in the game, in the modern, with capture. I think is he the only one? No. What am I thinking of?
No, I think you're right at this point, because just recently a lot of characters with capture did kind of phase out.
Right, yeah, the last cuts, right? There was, like, Leash and Jim Gordon. The Jim Gordon that captured me at Canadian Nationals? Oh, God. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about these guys. And, with the adjustment in points, because it says 148 here, but it's apparently 150, I'm at 299. It still works.
Yeah. There's still a Sentinel that can do it, I believe.
We got Danger, the Arkham Origins Jim Gordon, the Alpha 3 Sentinel.
Yep.
Yep. And
that's it. And Mortimer McTaggart shuts it down, which is a debatable use these days.
And the Horde Token Sentinel Hunters, if they have a full stack of 4, can use capture.
That's not likely to happen.
No. I'm looking here. Hold on. Jim Gordon can use a capture ability. The first time he releases a captive, choose a friendly character with a lower point value. That character can use the capture ability as long as Jim Gordon is on the map. So he can capture, and then he can give other people capture on the team.
He's a jerk.
I wonder if he's going to join the Central City PD soon.
I don't like him.
All right. Tom.
Aye, let me see if I can bring up the old screen share.
Oh, good old screen share. Oh, I should stop mine.
Make it abominable!
Do you see an abominable snowman?
Yes.
Excellent. So I decided not to build limited format, only because of the fact that my admittedly started out as a joke team, or then turned out to be something I'd actually play, required the use of a resource. So we start out with the abominable snowman at half the team, and I've since made the adjustment for his point value, so we shall assume that he's 150, and we know all about what he does. Let's face it, this was a joke team. I put him with Captain Cole and Mr. Freeze. I think you see the theme.
The effects look very ice.
Thank you very much.
You're a cold bastard.
But let's take a look at what these guys do, because it actually kind of works. First of all, Captain Cold has a Suicide Squad team ability, and I like being able, anytime I'm building with a wild card and I don't have the chance to use that wild card team ability, I always feel like I die a little inside. So I like having something for him to copy. So Suicide Squad immediately makes the Abominable Snowman a little more useful. And then, of course, there's the fact that he's actually quite decent. He makes it harder for characters to use charge and hypersonic speed, which makes them inclined to try to attack the other members of your team, and yet try to get next to the Abominable Snowman is not something anybody wants. And, of course, he can use Barrier, and when he does, he may place an ice ladder marker on any square instead of a blocking terrain marker, and ice ladder markers are clear terrain that are considered a ladder between that square and an adjacent square of a different elevation. Ice ladder markers are removed from the map. This just basically makes it easier to get along when you brought along a very slow and otherwise fairly ineffectual Mr. Freeze, so that Captain Cold can put it down and give Mr. Freeze a gateway to get through, just in case the Abominable Snowman's not carrying him. Otherwise, though, Captain Cold is all about sitting back, shooting, and he's outwitting. Frankly, running shot Psychic Blast with Outwit is already a great opening dial, and the fact he's lending out the Suicide Squad team ability, all for 75 points, is a decent little piece. Mr. Freeze, we now get into the well-known trick, which is Mr. Freeze and an Indigo battery. For anyone who doesn't know the well-known trick, Mr. Freeze has a power called No Ordinary Guns Please, and it says Mr. Freeze and other friendly characters within 4 squares can use Incapacitate and have a minimum range of 4. All characters within 4 squares can't make ranged attacks unless they use Incapacitate. This power can't be countered or ignored. So the idea is that Mr. Freeze, in conjunction with an Indigo Tribe battery, locks it down so that your opponents have to get within 4 to target them, and once they're within 4, they can't make ranged attacks unless they're using Incapacitate. It's a wonderful little way of forcing anybody to get next to your pieces. And as we've already addressed many times, the Abominable Snowman is exactly who you don't want to be next to. So by using it with Mr. Freeze, it cuts off people's ability to target you and shoot you down. If they get in close, then they have to be able to use Incapacitate. Otherwise, they got to get in next to that Abominable Snowman and deal with those tokens piling up. As noted, this is being played with an Indigo Tri-Battery and an Indigo Ring. And for my construct, I've given a mallet. This is the part of the adjustment. I gave a mallet to Mr. Freeze so that he can do something. When people get next to him, at least he can quake to try to knock them away, which continues to frustrate them, forcing them to get back in, and it will give him a chance to have some damage output. The sniper rifle is there to allow Captain Cold to hopefully get a few shots away before your opponents get across the map, and then you have to cluster together and take advantage of the Mr. Freeze effect. And finally, there's the net, because nothing's better when you're trying to lock down your opponents than forcing them to not be able to get next to you with a net, and then they do get next to you, and then they can't get away. All in all, it's a big freezy hug team, and to be perfectly honest, it's a team I would play even if I don't expect it to be the absolute top tier meta. For a team that started as a joke, I kind of like the way it turned out. So there you go.
So I played Freeze Indigo Tech for a couple of ROCs, and actually that got me 2 of my top 8s. It's a really, really strong strategy, and it does very, very well. One word of caution is that because Freeze and none of your characters operate within the same square, it's always really important to put Freeze as the lead character, which it seemed, because he's so weak, that seems kind of counterintuitive. But you want to be sure that your Abominable Snowman and your Captain Cold would be covered by his effect. Otherwise, if they're a square ahead of him in the line of fire, there will be a gap where smart players will be able to get in and see. They'll still be within 4 squares for Indigo Power Battery, but they'll be 5 squares away from Freeze. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you do that, because there can be that gap. You really have to watch positioning for Freeze Indigo Tech to work.
Pro tip. Thank you.
Hey, Tom, when I said stop, collaborate, and listen, I didn't know you. So, seriously. For those kids out there, look it up. Wesley!
Sure. So I've never done the screen share thing before. So if I do it and crazy things happen, I apologize. I'm gonna try it though.
We'll just yell at you until you fix it.
Please do not. That would make me sad.
No, we wouldn't do that.
Nonsense. Not our,
All right.
not
So
our style.
can we see my team?
No.
I'm afraid I don't.
Oh no, that's terrible. It says I am screen sharing. I don't know why.
There might be a slight delay because we.
Yeah, your connection's a little bit slow to begin with, so it might be that.
Yeah, we've got your audio coming through clear, but the video's a bit spotty.
Well, it's pretty straightforward, anyways. And honestly, both of the previous teams have used 2 of my characters.
Wes, why don't you copy and paste it in Facebook, and I'll put it up.
Sure. If I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll just explain it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So it is the Abominable Snowman, of course, and Mr. Mixelplick, which Mike used, and Mr. Freeze, which Tom used. And the last part, which I think is the differentiating part of the strategy, is Despotalis. So Despotalis would actually be where the majority of the damage output comes from. So if I use Mixelplick to carry Despotalis with his phasing, I can push Mixelplick for his last phase and get Despotalis in close and base them back with carrying Despotalis, and then Abominable Snowman would carry Mr. Freeze. And so wherever he goes, it would be very, very difficult to do a range attack to respond. And plus, Mr. Freeze's capture ability, he grants everyone incapacitate, which really, really be useful because you don't have to wait now with the Abominable Snowman to use incapacitate, and it also gives him a minimum range of 4, something that something that he could really, really use for a close combat character. So bringing in the Despotalis, with being right there with the Abominable Snowman and the Mixelplick Pulse Wave, you should be able to keep your opponent double action tokened virtually the entire time, And as a result, every turn, not only are they going to be taking double tokens, they're going to be taking 2 clicks of damage from Despitalis. So that would be my team.
Great.
Yeah, I like this. I feel like the boring one. Everybody kind of went thematic with the ice, or
We had fun.
Mike with the Christmas, and I'm the boring guy that built a mythical team.
That's all right.
I built it around the Abominable Snowman and Scarlet Witch. So, of course, Scarlet Witch, this is the movie Scarlet Witch, 55 points, perplex, 8 range, 10 attack, 3 damage, so she can still kind of bring it. Abominable Snowman, the idea is, of course, being giant to carry her around and have her handy when he needs the extra damage, extra stats once she's done what she can do.
Yeah, he does.
Faust, because I really like the Faust, and he wants to hang out with them too, and he wants to party like Jay wants to party with it. Jason, sorry. So overall, it's kind of a thing I threw together. I saw Mystical and I originally wanted to build a monster team. I'm not going to lie with it, but you know the allure of the Faust and the idea of trying out the Scarlet Witch on something that kind of stands above the rest of the team appealed to me. I mean, the Abominable Snowman's like a big hairy Hulk. What can we say? That was my less than exciting, less icy approach to the team myself. And with that said, what better time to discuss maps than a guy who's making the maps, or making some maps. Now, even though you're not officially working in a capacity with kids, you are still facing, I'm sure, a lot of the same challenges that they have with regards to making a map. So, what I kind of want to address, give you a chance to talk about, is what are some of the challenges that are there with making maps for Heroclix? I'm sure even the guys that make the design maps for the ROC have their little challenges, and I'm sure it's all the same challenges that guys at WizKids have. So, how about a little bit of a share on that, if you will, Wes?
Sure. So one of the big challenges, because there are I don't know how many maps there are in Heroclix history now, but there are quite a number of maps out there. So finding a map that is exciting, that somebody's like, ooh, I want to go there, and that is different than the 100+ other maps that are out there. That is a challenge, right? So finding a unique location, finding orange special text that would draw people in to want to play there, like the Gettysburg text. Nick Fury and Banshee right now are such huge meta pieces, and the orange text is there to sort of say, oh, well, you're playing Nick Fury. Oh, well, now you got to deal with this, and it really nerfs those two pieces, and it's supposed to, right? It's supposed to be something that I wanted the trenches to work and for them to actually mean something and not have Nick Fury just be able to sit in it and just shoot out of. So considering the meta, considering what's going on in the game, that's definitely a challenge. You don't want to create a scenario where RC or even local venue will have to ban a map because of situations like with Shaman, for example, when Shaman is capable of just taking everyone's flight away. Well, if on certain maps, if you just take everyone's flight away, then they can't get around anymore, and then someone who can take advantage of that and build around that would be able to do things in such a way that it makes it unfun to play on for the opponent. And so those are definitely some of the things that we got to keep in mind. The quality of the art. I'm really proud of the quality of the art on this map. I'm really proud of the quality of the art on next map too. Nashville. Nashville's my hometown, so I'm doing a nod to that, and I'm really proud of it. So quality of the art is hugely important. And for me, this was my first year of doing sort of a competitive season with the ROC, and I went through 3 copies of Ryut. And right now my Black Mercy Garden is falling apart, and I'm about to have to buy another Black Mercy Garden. And the reason for that is because WizKids doesn't make money off of maps. They don't even really sell the maps. They just include them with kits, right? They don't. I mean, they'll sometimes include them with like starter sets, but they don't really make money off maps. So there isn't an incentive for WizKids to produce a product that will last 3, 4, 5 years. And so you see that with highly competitive play, because highly competitive play usually comes down to just a handful of 6 maps in the meta. And those 5 or 6 maps end up being used, 20, 30, 40 times, and stuff gets spilled on them because they're always the map that's out on the table. Therefore, stuff happens, and life happens, and they tear at the creases and all that stuff. So quality, endurance, all those things are definitely some of the challenges that I consider whenever I make a map.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned that they don't make money off of the maps. Do you think that's an opportunity here, or WizKids could possibly capitalize on? I mean, I know they have the materials that the ROC uses for their mats because they make the Dice Masters mats. So WizKids into this, or isn't ignorant of the material.
Right.
Do you think it's a missed opportunity on their part, or do you think that there's something else to that?
Well, I know that Heroclix, while it is definitely a very fun game, and we all enjoy it, I know WizKids is diversifying their investments because they're getting the investment that they want out of Heroclix right now. They aren't getting the return on investment that they want. So I think that in order to make that step for WizKids, they have such a huge audience that would be a tremendous investment for them, and I don't think that on their level they would see the return on investment on that.
Okay, that makes a degree of sense. So, as far as maps, you mentioned that you got a lot of use out of Riot, and I know I do. As far as practice is concerned,
it's kind of a gold standard.
Yeah, it's basically a standard. If your team can't survive on Riot, it can't survive. Has become the kind of the saying we have around here.
And Nick Fury has exacerbated that, right? And so that's why the golden tech, that's why the orange text on my map, because Nick Fury and Banshee, they do not make that better. They make that problem worse. So
I'm curious. I'm actually curious to inquire. Did the idea of how did the genesis come from as far as doing a Gettysburg map with the trenches and coming up with an effect that is designed to sort of nerf that particularly dominant element of the meta? Were you already working on Gettysburg and then you adapted that idea in, or did you start with that idea and try to build a map around it, or how did that go?
That came from going to the World Cup and seeing a Nick Fury being brought in every single game, sometimes 2. We had both players brought in. Nick Fury was on the board every single game in some capacity in every single one of my games.
It was a lot. It was crazy.
So to me, that's getting to the point where it begins to affect diversification in the game, right? If it gets to the point where you have to build in 5 points just for a Nick Fury, that's when I get concerned about where is the meta heading, right? If you have to build in these 5 points for this piece, if you want to be competitive. So whenever I saw that at the Cup and I made the decision after doing so well that I wanted to do this, I definitely looked at Nick Fury and I said there has to be a better balance out there for him than that.
And then from there was the idea basically to say, how can I come up with a thematic element that will support it? And that's where Gettysburg came from? Or how?
No, Gettysburg definitely came from the excitement of Marvel Civil War, the movie coming out, and wanting to sort of hop on that hype train without taking an actual location from the movie. Because I'm sure that whenever the storyline of PKs come out, they'll have the special locations from the movie. And also, I obviously can't use Marvel locations. So thinking about a good location as a starter, I wanted to appeal to the most broad audience that I could. And so there are Civil War collectors and comic book collectors and completionists and stuff. And they just fawn over stuff like Gettysburg, which I do too. I'm just as guilty as anyone else. My Magneto collection is embarrassing. But so that there was definitely that element, and the element of wanting to capitalize on the Marvel Civil War. That was a business decision on my part.
Okay.
And making the trenches and making the orange text, that was a result of Nick.
That's cool. I didn't realize that it was based in any way on the Marvel Civil War. It makes it
Funny that
more
we ended up playing that.
Yeah, it's funny. That's what we played. Yeah.
Well, and I actually very fortunate, because I didn't know when the trailer was coming out. I knew it was coming out very, very soon, and it was so odd that it came out right in the middle of the sales period for this map. It was like, oh score, yes.
Yeah.
And what a trailer!
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for that movie myself. All right, so I kind of derailed the conversation for saying I like movie.
Oh, Jason, you so special.
I'm a special boy. I even had a thought on the tip of my tongue, and then I've completely derailed myself. Even
Okay.
I'm impressed with that. Now,
If I'm, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tom. You got something.
I was just going to say, one of the things I really like about the Gettysburg map, and also one of the things I like about, how can I put this? I like maps that have a diversity of different terrain opportunities and options on them. I think they make the game more fun. I think you enjoy the game more when you've got a little bit of elevated and you've got some blocking and hindering and things are split around. If there's room for water, if there's room for indoor-outdoor, the more there is to provide diversity on the general map surface, the more you can cater the way you play your team and the way you deploy to what is going to provide the best benefit to your team and the least benefit to your opponents, and play that out. And I find that really fun. And one of the things I find missing in the competitive scene is you don't tend to see people catering towards maps that have a diversity of terrain, because they basically are looking to play on the map that best suits their particular strategy. So you're
So you end up with like Ranks that has all indoor bucket terrain, or Riot, which has all elevated terrain and like some little spots of hindering on one side. I think there's a total of 6 squares of hindering terrain on Riot.
Yeah, exactly.
And to me, that's bland, right? So if you look at some of the, I think it was Streets of Gotham. It was one of the Batman sets that had some maps that had some really, really, really diverse terrain.
No Man's Land, I think is what you're thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, no Man's Land. That's exactly it, actually. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at and saying that was really cool. That was really, really well done, and that's what I kind of want to start going after, because I think those types of maps are a lot more fun for players. And that isn't necessarily just having orange special text that's super annoying or hard to get around. It's about having a diverse meta and a diverse set of options to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's very, very laudable and the right choice to go with, because it makes the game more fun in general. As you say, it does make it very bland if it's all doing the same thing. Yes, it does allow you to maximize the effectiveness of your team in conjunction with that map, but it's at the expense of sort of enjoying the experience of playing. And I think that there has to be an element of that, even at the most competitive level, for the game to have legs. It still has to be fun when it's competitive, or else it does become quite tedious.
Right, and this is a game, right? We're supposed to be having fun. So I think that by injecting some diversity in, and having and even then, one of the reasons why I chose the subscription service is because it should be a fun moment whenever your new map of the month comes in, right? And get the excitement of exploring that new map for the first time. And so that's really what I'm hoping to engender into my members and say, hey, you're going to have this new exciting experience every month. And
that's awesome.
And that's something that I think would really hope would resonate with the Heroclix community.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you already mentioned that they're one-offs too, like they're unique. They won't be reprinted later?
So right now there are no plans to reprint maps later on. So at the end of tonight, for example, in 2.5 hours, once Gettysburg is sold, it is done. So there will be no more Gettysburg printed. So that could change later on if there's like a huge demand and people say, hey, I really want Gettysburg. I may go back and look at opening up direct sales for that. But even if that does happen later on, they would not happen at the same level. So I would not be able to go back and reprint Gettysburg for $25 per, because it would be a one-off. So we would look at a considerably higher rate for doing a one-off then. And the value on $25 for these maps is really, really high. If you look at like the eBay costs for Assassin's Alley, for example, Assassin's Alley has sold in the $40 range consistently on eBay, right? And then the other thing that I sort of use to measure my value is the cost of an ROC. If you enter an ROC and you come in the top 8, then you get a map. But for those other 16 or so poor souls, they don't walk away with a map, and they still paid their $25, right?
Yep.
So this way, $25 every month, you're guaranteed to get a map. And I think that's an important value thing.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. Now, have talks been opened with the ROC in order to get these maps on their tables?
That subject has been approached. There are two things that we really have to do, and we have to look at when talking about making the ROC legal. First, to be very blunt about it, the owner of HD Realms at ROC is also the owner of Grid Reality.
Right.
So there is a little bit of a hurdle to jump there. So the second thing that I think would really have the biggest effect on it is number of subscribers, and the more these maps are out there, if the community wants these maps to be legal, the ROC board has had a habit of listening to its members very, very well. They're very good at listening to their members. That's why we have such a diverse set of options for format this year. People wanted a 400-point format. The board gave them a 400-point format. So if my subscribers make their voices heard and tell the board that's what they want, eventually, maybe, hopefully, they'll allow that to happen.
Okay. Well, I just want to tell the fans who are watching right now, get out there, hcatlas.com. You have 2 hours, hour and a half to get your Gettysburg map, and let's get these maps out there. This map is really interesting, really cool, and it's not a paper map, so it's got a little bit more longevity than all your other maps. And let's get more of them out there so we can convince the ROC that we want these maps in there.
And the production production ones will have the same quality as the Grid Reality maps, correct?
Yeah, we are actually getting the exact same quality as ROC maps. So I'm really, really excited about that. These initial prototypes were made out of a different rubber. Originally, I wanted to try to go with all local suppliers, but it was just very difficult to find the exact same materials locally, and it ended up being difficult to ship and didn't work out very well. But I did find another supplier who was able to give me the exact same quality as ROC maps. So I'm super excited about that.
This does fall very much into the category of things that for anybody listening or watching this, you don't necessarily know what you're missing until you have a chance to experience it. How much better it is to play on a map of that material. Yeah, it really it affects the game in ways that you wouldn't expect it to, just because you don't have to fuss with it. There's the reflection of light isn't so much an issue. Your figures aren't moving around the folds and stuff. Like it's a little.
One of the things I noticed the first time I ever played on an RSC map was that the rubber deadened the dice roll. So the dice didn't fly off the table as much, and that to me alone was a huge difference. And then the other difference was because there's that cloth topping. Whenever you rest your hand on the map, it just feels softer and more and a lot more comfortable. Which to me again was a big quality difference. And that's one reason why I'm trying to mimic that so closely.
It's like resting your hand on an angel cloud. I do want to take a second. On part of our Patreon, at the higher mark, the $800 per month mark, if we hit that mark, we are going to be starting our own Married with Clicks tournament series. And I can already tell you right now, we will be allowing the HC Atlas maps in whatever format we decide on for that tournament. So I can already tell you, if we can get there, we got that much to account for as far as getting them out there.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And for us, like doing our Monday night games, which is semi-regular at the moment, hopefully it'll become more and more regular. Having maps that don't shine and that you're not having to reposition your figures on, as Tom was saying before, is huge. I own several of the ROC maps. I'm up to 5 now, I think.
Brag about it.
And, they are my favorite maps.
No big deal. Brush off the shoulders,
I got 5.
No big deal.
I got 5.
Got 5.
They're my favorite. No, my point is though that they're my favorite maps to use, and considering that your maps are going to be the same quality, it's I can't say enough about it. It's going to be really good. Also, did we want to mention the thing, Wes?
Sure. Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about that. Sure.
Yeah. All right. So coming up, there is going to be a quarterly reward for your subscription to HC Atlas. So basically, you buy 3 and you get 1. Basically, the quarterly reward will be a quarter of a battle royal map, so a square map, which is 24 by 24 squares. So you'll receive a quarter of it, done in the same quality as what Wes has been describing, and you'll be able to put the 4 of them together at the end of the year. Basically, it's a nice little bit of delayed gratification, but also some thanks I know from Wes and the HC Atlas team.
Yeah, it's definitely something that people. I've gotten a lot of questions about Battle Royale maps, and again, it's something that WizKids they don't really have a lot of incentive to produce. So they've kind of created a hole there, and especially finding a modern age map like that is not 4 years old. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a match at home with more than 2 people, your options are basically to take 2 maps and put them together and say, yay, it works, sort of, kind of, a little bit. And that's not really what you want. So yeah, this year to reward people who continually to subscribe, we're very excited to offer that Battle Royale map for people who keep on going every month.
Not just for people at home. I mean, at our venue, Wizards Cash, we play a lot of battle royals. People love them. It's a really great way to introduce new players to the game because it's a lot more forgiving than one-on-one play, and it's almost like it gives you a teaching opportunity with newer players. And you can play with 12 people on the same map if you use Blitzkrieg's rules, which is 1-minute turns, which we do. But otherwise, it can take a little bit long, but it makes it into more of a social experience rather than just being a hardcore play thing, and shows the real breadth of this sport.
And you actually sort of brought up something that I really want to talk about too, is supporting local venues. So I haven't done anything officially yet, so I'm really interested in finding ways to use HC Atlas to support local venues and to allow them to encourage greater attendance at their venues. Whether it's something like if you attend X amount a month, then you're qualified for a fellowship prize and it's voted, and my map is the fellowship prize, or something like that.
Right.
There has to be a way to use this to help encourage greater attendance, and I'm really interested in working with local venues to figure out what that is. Because what's good for the Clicks community and what's good for those local venues is good for us all, and I really want to help support that.
Patrick Yaboko has invited you to possibly, you'll have to talk to him about the details, but put a booth at his regional in April. Mm-hmm. That might be a good opportunity for you guys as well.
Yeah, we talked about that at Greensboro, which, by the way, I did horribly at Greensboro. But we talked about it then. But the date for that has moved around a bit. I think it's back till March 19th now. Is what I've been told. The whole calendar was just posted up a couple of days ago, so I'm still sort of assimilating all that information. And my goal is to get to as many ROCs as possible this year. Unfortunately, I can't make it to Tulsa this weekend because Tulsa is like 9 hours away. But I know there's going to be one in New Jersey, like an hour south of New York City. And I've never been to New York City, so I'm
that'd be fun.
going to go to one. Pensacola is coming up next month. Or not next month, but in January, I'm going to be there. So it's going to be a fun time. I'm going to travel around and go all the venues I can, meet people, and whenever I show up at a venue, chances are that I'll be giving away one of my maps to the winner. So that's more price support for the store and hopefully free maps for everyone. Not everyone.
That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right.
It's frozen.
Yeah. Wes, can you still hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay,
I was-
your picture
I was
froze for a
done.
second.
That was a complete thought.
And
The camera hung on us. We just got a little panicked. And with all that said, we got a lot of questions to go through today, so I think it's time to start getting into that.
Sure.
Now, Wesley, pay very close attention, and because you get to choose the best question that gets asked, and if our discussion still stands, the winner of the best question gets himself the Gettysburg map.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So hope you guys have some good ones. If you got a couple minutes still, check Facebook.com/marriedwithclicks and check for the post where we link this video. Question in there. You got a couple minutes still. We got questions to get through, so if you haven't put your questions up yet, get them in there. We'll cover them as long as it's actually a question, because sometimes we get just statements. I'm going to try to go in as chronological as I can. All right, this one's 12 hours old. Sean Williams asks, what, in y'all's opinion, he actually wrote in y'all's, that's why I had to say it that way, opinion, is the most overpowered piece in the metagame, and why?
Is what piece in the metagame? I'm sorry.
It's
Most
the
overpowered.
Most overpowered piece in the metagame.
Are we all trying not to say Nick Fury?
Yeah,
I'm trying
to come up with a more creative answer than Nick Fury.
There might be a new one.
I would say Mixelplick right now. Mixelplick has the most amount. Every single one of his special powers is a threat, and it's a serious threat that needs to be taken very, very seriously. Every word on his card is a threat. And if you don't know how to handle every single one of his abilities, you're going to be caught off guard by something. Whether it's the change in size, the free phasing, or the special pulse wave, every single one of those things is a serious threat to any strategy.
Role replacement.
I mean, sure, yeah. So the role replacement, especially, but I mean, also just like the change in size thing, he can do that to either one of his characters. So if you have a taxi, and he gets within 3 squares of that taxi's suddenly tiny size and can't carry anyone, and so then you're stuck, right? And then the free phasing, like with my Abominable Snowman team. If he has 2 action tokens on him, and he has the free phasing, and he's carrying Despitalis, that's a beginning of the turn, free phase in, carrying Despo for poison or double poison, whichever, depending on how many action tokens you have. And so just every single one of his powers is a huge threat, and for 70 points, I think he's a little bit undercosted, but that would be my pick.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I just love the fact that you, like as I said before, the 3 turns in a row of Pulse Wave, and at the end of that, he's knocked himself onto one of his phasing clicks, so he free phasings away, even though he's tokened out. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Another good one would be the Sky Cycle Ultron combo, the Ultron 6-arm Ultron drone. Because it's 6 clicks of never-changing powers and stats. I'm quoting Patrick right now. Actually, he's talking to me on Facebook. So these are not entirely original thoughts that I'm having, but I do agree with him. It's really, really good, powerful combination for very, very low cost.
I used the Sky Cycle in great effectiveness at the World Cup for the semifinals. I used it with Beyonder. Because while Beyonder is in the Sky Cycle, he doesn't get the negative to his bonuses.
You're speaking my language. I've been preaching that for months.
This is his thing. You're stealing his thunder. How dare you?
No, it's on record. That's been my thunder since it came out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, for 150 points, you essentially get a character with 13 attack, 5 damage. So why wouldn't you use that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, Tom.
Totally down with that choice.
Tom, your thoughts on both?
I can't think of anything that isn't Nick Fury. I do think Nick Fury. The answer to the question, I think I'm going to go with the lame route and just say, yeah, I think it's Nick. He's just, and why? I mean, I don't know. Where do you start? The ability to just shut down anything, as long as there isn't a piece of blocking terrain in the way, within his considerable range that is extendable, is any power, that is to say, is simply, I don't know, if it goes against a lot of the core, conceptual mechanics of the game, where there are powers and there are ways of countering those powers, and there are ways of preventing those powers to be countered, and then he's the fourth link in that chain, and up until now we really haven't had a fourth link in that chain as such. And so in that respect, he is something that stands alone and is truly effective. I mean, there's lots of effects that stand alone, but what's the point? But his is an effect that stands alone and doesn't have itself a counter other than just another Nick. And in my opinion, if the most pervasive piece in the meta right now is best countered only by bringing him yourself, it's an indication of a meta that's heading towards a potentially stale place. Mr. Mixospitlick did just kind of hit the ground running, and is going to turn some serious heads. And to be honest with you, the one may cancel the other out as far as making it seem redundant. It's only really, to my line of thinking, bad when one piece is on top. If a small handful of pieces are on top, then they sometimes kind of balance each other out. But at this point, I'm going to have to put my money on the easy choice.
and that goes back to what I said earlier. Not having diversity in the meta is definitely something that I'm worried about. And seeing Nick Fury on every single team with a level 7 ID card, that was a little bit disheartening for me at the Cup. And something else that makes Nick Fury just a little bit more OP that people may not know is that he can, like, if you have a trait that says shape change, or the Hawkeye that has traded running shot, he can still turn off the ability that's in that trait that it grants you. So it doesn't
use a power.
Yeah. Right. It says if you can use a power, so he can turn off the traded running shot, turn off traded stealth. All that stuff can just go away with Nick Fury. That's really, really overpowered.
Yeah.
I did it to a super scroll that used shape change, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take your shape change. That means you lose a scroll too, because that's shape change as well.
Absolutely.
This whole Nick Fury-thon makes me think of Con Loki as another really, really strong piece. It's definitely one of my absolute favorites. I mean, there's a lot of mystics, and there are some deities now that Superman, Wonder Woman came out, and that's really the counter to his line of fire draw ability.
Good phraseology.
Well, that's. I mean, it's different than non-target ability. I mean, that's the difference between being immune to pulse wave and not. You can't draw lines of fire to him, so he cannot be hit with a pulse wave. Not only that, you can't target him except up close, right? Like, it's only close combat actions that work against him, unless you are a deity or mystical. He's relatively cheap, and he has mind control and incapacitate and shape change, probability control, and super senses. Like, oh my god.
All the things.
All the things. Yes, let's make a character who has all of the things. Let's do that. Yeah.
That's what Super Skrull is.
Well, but this guy's not 170 points.
Know.
He's cheaper.
Yep.
And better.
I do have to. I think Nick Fury is tough. I still think for his point value, Banshee just gets so much action out of him.
Yep.
Because, I mean, if he's within 6 squares of you, he does a lot of the problems, or has a lot of the same problems that Nick Fury does, without having to take an action, and he does it to everybody within those 6 squares.
Yeah.
As well, it affects everybody, or it's a bonus for the rest of your team to kind of capitalize off of that. He turns on super sense. His wife is Amber, and that makes me think he's over. But also that extra damage he does. He gets pulse wave. He has a PD team ability. There's a lot of things going, I think, for Banshee that at his point range make him slightly scarier than Nick Fury to me, especially when you couple in the fact that he comes with running shot.
Excuse me for
Right,
talking.
and he increases his damage if he turns off one of those abilities. Which what strong meta piece doesn't have a two damage reducer? And then if you couple that with the fact that he ignores elevated terrain for line of fire, that's such a huge thing. You go back to Ryu, like you said earlier, and just shoot at people. It's a shooting gallery. I'm on Team Stratagem with Howard Brock, Ethan Brock, Alex Fife, and Ben Nelson. And Howard Brock played in Greensboro, North Carolina. He played Banshee, Rick Jones, and Nick Fury. Those are his three characters, and here we go. And he did very well with that combo.
Yeah, I remember quickly you got top 4 with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was off the top of my head. So, all right. So yeah, there's a couple figures that really stand out. Mr. Mixes Pitlick and Nick Fury. I just want to be different than saying Banshee. I'm not gonna lie. That said, Charles L. Franklin asks, "What is your favorite map and why?" And Wesley, you get this one first.
Shadowland from I think it was Incredible Hulk. I think that was it. The name?
Yep, it was.
Basically, it's Indigo Power Battery for everyone, and I tend to like control teams and close combat teams. I'm not a big fan of Pulse Wave and Penetrate Psychic Blast in my builds. So I tend to like close combat or control style teams. And so Shadowlands was basically Indigo Power Battery for everyone. And if that was modern age legal, I would be playing that with a bunch of sidesteppers and Red Light Power Battery and say, "Come at me." But unfortunately it isn't. But that would be my favorite map.
Okay. Mike,
All right, I missed the question. I was AFK for a second.
what's your favorite map and why?
Oh, God.
gotta
Gettysburg. Favorite map.
Okay, yay!
There you go.
That's right. Butter up the sponsor.
Gettysburg, supplied by
Yeah.
ACS.
There you go.
Go there and buy yours today. It's your last
You have
chance.
an hour and 15 minutes still to get it.
I'm trying to think of what I play a lot of. I really like the Filipino jungle. It's World War II Philippines. It's really solid, and I don't know. It has a little bit of everything, and then it has those orange text little extra dense jungle areas that are really good. And it's on top of that, it's a map that not a lot of people have, so they're not used to playing on it, and that throws them off a little bit, at least for now, until it's more widely distributed. Overall, I think it's a really balanced map, really well done. If anybody's unfamiliar, it's the current ROC map that you get for coming in top 8 at a super qualifier. It was designed by Patrick as well, which is kind of cool. Plug, yada yada, whatever. Really fun to play on outdoors. Very green, beautiful map. Anyway, the end.
All right.
The art on that map is really beautiful too.
Oh yeah, it's really well done.
Tom?
It's funny. I was really been thinking about it, and I don't want to be one of the old fogies that says they did it better in the olden days. But to be honest, my favorite map is probably still, after all these years, one of the first maps that ever had the printed terrain on it, and that's the Junkyard. The Junkyard is an absolutely beautiful map that, when I was saying earlier my favorite thing about a map is that it offers diversity, this has got it all in spades. It's an indoor and outdoor map that is surrounded by walls. There's printed blocking terrain. There is hindering terrain. There's a patch of elevation towards the center. The idea is that it is a junkyard. It's got scrap and crap everywhere. It's a great idea, a great location for a superhero fight. And down in a strip in the middle of the map is a whole line of hindering with elevated on one side, and that hindering goes into an interior structure that runs along the length of the map on the side. And so in this, you can, if it's to your benefit, you can run into the indoor structure to try to cut off people who would shoot you across the map. You can try to get the high ground, and there's a lot of opportunities, even once you're engaged with your opponent and playing, to be able to move around as it suits as it best benefits where your team needs to go. So it's very old. It is one of the first ones, and yet, in a way, they really nailed it at the gate. And they've had, obviously, there are so many great maps, but maybe in part it is just the soft spot that it holds in my heart. But I absolutely love the Junkyard.
What set is that from? I'm trying to find it.
Armor Wars, I think, wasn't it? Oh no.
It's I don't remember exactly.
It's before anything on Jimdo, apparently.
If you just Google it, it is one of the. Just type in here. I think it's collateral damage. There you go. It was collateral damage.
Oh, it was a DC one.
Yep. And if you Google Heroclix Junkyard Map, you'll find a link to a Heroclix an HC Rum's post where Saturn Flight posts it.
Yeah, I got a couple Google images of it that I know the one you're talking about because I've played about 1,000 games on the map myself, and I do agree as far as teaching a player a map.
Oh wow, that's cool.
It's definitely a really good one for it.
That's really a beautiful map.
Yeah, so much going on. One of the really great ones.
Yeah. And since we're talking about Golden Age, I do have to say, mostly because, I'm not going to talk metagame maps here because that will depend on the choice and the team. But I do have to say, something that kind of sits for a long time in my household, and a lot of people really love this map, has been the Icons map from way back in the day, the Icons set. It was a really good 4-player map, is the reason I like it, and because I've seen it a ton. There's enough open space to get some shots off, but there's also enough places to hide if you're willing to kind of do the work for it. But I also have a very soft spot for Krakoa.
Who doesn't, really?
Krakoa is one of those maps that I've really looked at for its orange terrain levels. The orange terrain on that map is absolutely crazy. Yeah. And I tend to shy away from it because I don't want people to have to fight my map. That seems like something that would be a little bit much for, especially if I want these maps to become modern age legal.
Is that from
RC legal?
Yeah, it's from Giant Size X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those maps where the map itself could actually end up making an attack, which is really random. But I don't want that kind of effect on my maps. I think maybe a little bit.
Players should win, not maps.
Exactly, players should win, not maps.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's one of it.
just to have that unique
exactly.
Thing. Yep. But in fairness to the creator of it, though, it is equal for both players. So if you set down Krakoa, you know what you're getting into, or you should know what you're getting into.
It made for some interesting sealed experiences back in the day, considering one of there weren't a lot of characters in Giant Size X-Men that were heavy reducers, but the ones who did had a slight advantage because if you could win the map and put it on Krakoa, your reduction could go a long way. I remember piloting a Hulk team. In Sealed, which was super exciting because it was the one piece I wanted from the set, to great success on Krakoa, where Krakoa, doing the 1 damage to everybody, was just nailing the whole team, and Hulk was shrugging it off. So.
All right. So next up, sorry, just checking some timestamps here. Here we go. So next question comes from Obi-Wan Chris. Hey Wes, I know we talked a little about this yesterday, but this is a follow-up to Tom's awesome breakdown of the negative play experience that Nick Fury brings to the table. So I'll ask you officially now, how do you combat Nick Fury without leaving yourself open to other teams that do not include Nick Fury? I enjoy building teams, almost, if not more so, if I do building them, and Balls of Fury has created a negative building experience for me since everything I come up with to beat him falls short against hypersonic/close combat.
Sure. So this is something that he and I had talked about, like he said. And one of the easiest tricks to manage Nick Fury is to just simply good old-fashioned memorize his dial. Because if you look really closely at his dial, you'll see very quickly that what makes him special is his damage ability. And he does not have that ability on every click. So he doesn't have it, I think, on the 2nd and 4th, and I think he has it on the 5th and 6th clicks. I may have that backwards, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't have it on the even numbered 2nd, 4th, and then he has it on 5 and 6. But if you can manage that and get a poisoner in there, or just do 1 explosion splash, energy explosion splash damage, or just start off with an AoE pulse wave that'll just knock him off that click as quickly as possible. You'll find that he's a lot more manageable if he has that perplex, as opposed to the turn-off ability with the prop. So that is definitely my first comment on that. My second comment on that would be to build teams that don't focus on temples. If you are able to diversify your team build with smaller characters, you will minimize his impact with his first attack. And so while he may get, to say he kills a 50-point whatever with a shot from Nick, if you can respond with 2 or 3 attacks from smaller characters, he doesn't have a heavy damage reducer. He only has toughness. So if you could go at him with 2 or 3 guys that has 3 damage, like 3 Ultron drones, they'll knock him out. If you could take care of his shape change in some fashion, you should be able to do it. So teams with more numbers of smaller characters, or just be able to manage what click he's on and win. That would be the 2 ways that I would take care of Nick Fury.
Yeah, and with theme, you may end up winning map roll, and then that would take care of a lot
Right.
of stuff, right?
Theme obviously, and then put him on ranks, and he becomes a lot less effective.
Yeah.
Or Gettysburg.
3D man, or you can have matching high point characters as well. You could have 250 point characters, for instance, because that nullifies his +1 and penetrating.
2 Ultron drones if you don't have anyone else over 100.
Yeah.
You've only invested 60 points, and they are now considered your most expensive if you don't have anyone else that's high points.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I look at. Every so often I look at Ultron drones like, you can stop this. You have the power to stop this.
And it stops Highfather, it stops Nick Fury, and in Modern Age Legal, it brings in so many different ID cards. It's those figures we're going to see for a very, very long time, I think.
I think our default setting often is set to circumvent the first attack as opposed to survive the first attack.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, I'm still down with circumventing it if you can, but against Nick Fury, a perfectly viable strategy is build a team that can survive, as opposed to simply a team that avoids the attack happening whatsoever. If he's so focused on making sure that first attack happens, then anything that you can do that says, that's fine, go ahead and do your thing, then it takes some of the power away from him. Play your dude.
I played an opponent who's at the Cup, who's actually one of the local players here in Nashville. His name is Justin Piercy. I don't know if any of y'all have ever played him.
I met him at the Cup.
He is a fantastic player. And he was definitely my most challenging game besides the one I lost. And his strategy with every single one of his teams, if you ever play him, he'll tell you, so I'm not giving away anything, is that his first attack should wipe out half your team, 3/4 of your team. Whenever I played him at the Cup, I had 5 characters on my team, and after his first attack, I was down to 2 with a single attack from Bullseye. So a lot of people put so much on that first attack, but I was able to come back with Yondu and Lockjaw and kill Bullseye, kill Banshee, and kill his Ultron drone. I was lucky, the dice were on my side, but if you can build a team that can survive that first attack and then respond, you're more likely to do well, I think, than a team that is focused on just getting that first attack. Because then it's like, well, now what do I do, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So, next question comes from Chris Prabanic. He asks, do you feel that creating maps that encourage or force a certain type of play, like the trenches on Gettysburg you mentioned on 2 Clicks from KO, check the link below for 2 Clicks from KO's podcast site, will draw enough people to pick up the maps for recreational use since they're currently not legal for WizKids or ROC play? Also, do you feel like creating maps that generate a unique play experience is more important than creating maps for balanced, regular competitive play?
I don't think that creating maps that are fun and unique and creating maps that are balanced, I don't think that's necessarily mutually exclusive. I think that it's possible to satisfy both those things, and that is definitely something that I try to do with Gettysburg, and that I think I've also accomplished with the next map. It's something that a lot of playtesting and a lot of thought goes into. So I really want to be able to accomplish both those things, and if I don't feel like that I've accomplished both those things with my map, then you probably will not see that map. So I really don't think those things are mutually exclusive. And what was the first part of the question? I'm sorry.
Did we lose? We may have lost Jason. It's showing his icon there.
Oh, great. Was that from the YouTube page, or is that from?
So I
Yeah, I
had to
think it's
jump
from
into
the-
the line quickly.
Okay.
What was the first part of the question, sir? I'm sorry, I forgot it.
Oh, do you feel creating maps that encourage or force a certain type of play, like the trenches on Gettysburg you mentioned on 2 clicks from KO, will draw enough people to pick up the maps for recreational use, since they are currently not legal for WizKids and ROC play?
Well, yeah, I honestly really do, because every map, a designer comes at it with the thought of what do I want the players to do? What do I want? How do I want this map to be played? You can see it, like, for example, with the map that Patrick designed, the Philippines map. There is a certain way that Patrick and the person who did the art for that map wanted it to be played. And to be frank about it, I haven't talked to Patrick about this, but just from seeing, having 2 eyes, the new Faust figure that came out in this set was also designed by Patrick and his team, and it does very well on that map.
Yes, it does.
There is a reason for that. So yes, I think that forcing people into a certain playstyle is what every map designer does, because they want certain things to happen. In the case with Gettysburg, I wanted the trenches to work, and I wanted to force people into the trenches. So if your team does well in trench warfare, you should choose Gettysburg as one of your 3 maps. And I think that as far as casual players go, I think casual players are not as interested in the orange text, and I often find that in casual games, a lot of times the orange text gets ignored. So I think that what is more important to the casual player is the unique and attractive location that the battle is taking place on. So they're going to go to Gettysburg not because of the trench orange text, but because it's Gettysburg and they want to fight there.
Yeah, if I could just dovetail off that for a second, I would say that for almost everybody I know that plays Heroclix, there was a time when we got involved because of the fact that we liked to see superheroes and play as superheroes fighting each other, and the map was an important thing because of the fact that it was the arena for superheroes battling each other. Eventually we all start to get inordinately technical and look purely at mechanical interrelations and mechanical interactions between figures, and maps, and everything turns into math. But there's absolutely a piece in all of us, and I know in my case, and I know at least Mike, because Mike and I play all the time, there's a huge part of us that just enjoys being on Gettysburg because it's Gettysburg, being on a map because it feels like it's cool to see these characters fighting in this place, and so I think that's a huge drawing factor.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I want to add that Patrick said he didn't think Faust would work so well on his own map. It just kind of happened that way.
It does work really well.
So, I just wanted to share that with you guys.
I've been wrong before. It's been known to happen from time to time.
But you know what? Sometimes it's Freudian.
Yeah. Sometimes Patrick's brilliance doesn't purely take an active role. It just happens on its own.
All right, guys, put a stamp on it. Chris Stockhouse.
Awesome.
What does everyone think is the ideal amount of characters to have on a theme team, assuming this team is relying on winning map to put the game on tilt from the beginning of the game in your favor? Okay, if you want to guarantee it, minimum 5.
That's what I was going to say, 5.
Ties with the average, because the average being 7, at least you get a forced reroll on that. And that ties with the average if you roll 2 once. So anything past that, you're generally planning on winning. But here's the thing: bad things happen, and it's impossible to guarantee it unless you're playing a 12-character team.
I know with so many things that WizKids has decided that if you get a 1 with shape change, no matter how many pluses you have to that shape change rolls, the shape change still fails. I wonder if that's something that in the future they're going to look like and say, if you get a double 1, you automatically lose map roll.
Yeah, Interesting.
It's a thought, but I mean they've been going. You know what? That might be a thing, unless both players roll double ones.
That would be unfortunate.
I don't think it's necessary though.
Yeah.
No. I know, just
spitballing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It is a possibility.
But I definitely agree with that answer. So the team that I'm working on right now is heavily reliant on map, and it's Avengers theme, and it has 5. And five is a solid number.
It is a good number.
Just because of the way the math works out. And again, nothing's guaranteed. So just even though you're planning on that 5, I'll always be prepared for that chance that you're going to lose map roll, because it happens.
It does happen.
Yep. I had a team with 4 characters, and at Canadian Nationals, didn't play against a single theme team, and won all but 1 dice for map. And honestly, that one map just was the worst possible situation ever. So, I mean, even 4 doesn't guarantee it, and I'm gonna tell you, even 5 isn't gonna guarantee it in some cases. But he also added to his question more of a statement in this case. Holy ROC announcement, Batman. So many Super Qs or larger events happening all over the planet. I'm glad to see the ROC scene growing. If you haven't talked about it already, what are your thoughts on having 60-plus major events, not including states and provincials? More HeroClix is a good thing.
It is. It's a really good thing.
And I would also say that it takes away the stigma of elitism around significant competitive tournaments. I mean, competitive and exclusive / snooty go into the same category way too often when it's completely invalid. Competitive is just another way to play the game, because in a world where there aren't too many opportunities for everybody, then it's easy to make it seem like a club for exclusive membership only. So the more competitive HeroClix, the better for all of HeroClix.
Mm-hmm. I have found that unsportsmanlike conduct is not an exclusive thing to competitive play. I think that there are unsportsmanlike or snooty people who play competitive games at your local venue just as much as there are in ROC, and it's about the same proportion. I wouldn't say that there's any higher proportion of snooty or unsportsmanlike people who go to these. So yeah, definitely that. And again, our ROC, the Realms Open Championship, saved the game of HeroClix for sure. It was going on a downhill spiral, and then the ROC came along at competitive play, and it changed the game. And I have always been really appreciative of that. So it is fantastic to see the ROC continue to expand and do well. And I plan on going to as many events as I can. So if there are 60, I would love to go to 60 events this year.
Yeah, we've got to get more up here. We're planning on getting some trials going. It's a little bit harder to get larger events. Although, with the new national stuff that'll be coming up, that'll change things a fair amount.
Well, I think that the trial event that we were talking about earlier shows that it's possible to get large numbers of trials. The number one thing to do is prize support. Prize support. If you want people to come to your event, give away stuff and let people know you're giving away stuff, and letting them know. And those are the two things that are really the critical thing. I've been to venues where they only give away the prizing that's included in the kits, and you'll have 16, 20 people sign up. But then we have the event that happened last weekend, and it was a trial, and it was capped. They had to turn away people because it's capped at 32. And that's an awesome problem to have. But the difference is their winner got a brick. So stuff like that matters.
Yeah, that's a good prize, actually. Well, the other piece would be promotion, like knowing it far enough in advance to be able to put together, some volunteer design that you can actually distribute amongst the community, and hopefully draw in outside people and talk it up in the intro.
Marketing is everything.
We know that. Yeah.
Marketing is big. It's huge.
It's huge.
All right, next up, McConnell Lamar What would be your favorite movie location to make into a map? Can I go first?
Go for it, man.
Have you guys seen John Wick yet?
No.
Yeah.
But spoil away.
No.
There's a scene in a nightclub. There's like this big fight scene in a nightclub. Actually, the whole movie's a fight scene. Let's not kill her.
Yeah, it is. It's actually pretty good.
But I mean, and it's a great movie about a guy trying to avenge some dudes who killed his dog. It's the greatest story ever.
Yeah.
Because it's a great, the plot is there. That's all there is to it, and we're done. And let's fight.
Where we going, right?
Anyway, the nightclub scene is what I would really like to see as a map. As far as, have the elevated for the upper levels of the nightclub. You can even throw a little water terrain in the corner from the pool portion of it, and it would be a really cool idea, like one of those types of nightclubs to see as a map. That's what I would.
That's cool. I'd like to jump in here. There's a location that's used in many, many movies. I'm not sure that many people in the States know this, but a lot of the time when you're seeing cities that are American, they're actually Toronto. And so having Toronto, like having something downtown Toronto would be awesome. That's, if anybody doesn't know, that's where I live and Tom lives and Jason lives just outside of.
Wasn't the Batman series one of those that they made Gotham into Toronto into Gotham? Wasn't that a thing?
Yeah, I believe so. And upcoming Suicide Squad was filmed here. Lots and lots and lots of movies. In particular, could be down by the CN Tower, right around Skydome area. There's some interesting terrain options. Yeah, I think.
Are you dropping hints, Mike? Is that what's going on?
I might be trying to tap in telepathically. Give you subliminal ideas.
Well, yeah, one of the big challenges I have is obviously copyright law. So I can't use like Marvel locations and I can't use DC locations. But I can use Toronto as a location, so I'll keep that in mind.
That's great.
Young Street. There we go. I'll take you to a place that I had to walk around 1,000 people, like lollygagging around just to see some scenes from the Suicide Squad get filmed. I'll show you the area.
You have Dundas Square there?
There's almost a couple murders, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I really needed to get to my GO train after 401 games. Tom?
In my mind, I see a pristine, white, off-putting mess hall surrounded by many thin corridors with mist rising and the ever-present threat of a xenomorph coming out from the ductwork above. I would love to see a Nostromo map. I love Alien so much. Like, it's such a good movie, and so much of that is created by the weird atmosphere of this broken down spaceship with its horrendous engineering section, and as I say, the thin corridors and this strangely off-putting pristine mess and everything. It's beautiful. I would love to see a Nostromo map.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So I guess my choice, I don't know. There are such awesome movies out there with amazing locations. So The Hills Have Eyes. Did anyone see that movie? So it's like this cabin in this really, really spooky woods. Something like maybe for Halloween one year, for an October map next year. I really want to do like a really spooky, location with fog and all that stuff. And I think what was a Cabin in the Woods? I think I'm thinking of Cabin in the Woods.
Right.
But like just have the house and just all this hindering terrain and trees and spooky and cloudy and stuff going on. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Well, that the Battle Royale map is roughly based on a scene from a very, very famous movie, but we won't get into that too far.
And just as a consolation pick, may I also say at some point, wouldn't it be nice to see Los Angeles in the year 2029 with the hunter killers sweeping through over the streets paved in human skulls? That would be the Terminator: A Dark Future. For those
you have a very healthy mind. I'm saying.
Good creative ideas input.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the nightclub scene in John Wick was every single nightclub fight scene in every movie for the past couple 100 years.
Right? Yes.
All right.
That was a good scene. That was a really good scene.
It was. I love that movie. Just the fight scenes in that were just so raw and visceral.
They were very raw.
Matt Graykunos asks, Mr. Mix's Pitlick, Copycat, or Nighthawk Prime for 300-point ROC Limited? I've tried all three.
Copycat isn't really. I would say out of the three, Copycat is the least reliable.
Yeah, it's the distant back of those three.
And it's also, I mean, even if they're playing a character that it makes sense for you to take, you're still switching, probably what is the equivalent of a 70-point piece for a 90-point piece that you maybe know how to use, and that it may work with your team and may work with your synergy, but you're essentially spending 90 points hoping that you can deprive your opponent of the central figure of their team, and that they just can't make it work. And especially in the limited format that we have right now, Super Scroll is just so common, and there are so many ways to make that happen. And if you're playing Copycat and you sort of reflexively transfer a piece without really looking at all their options, you could have just cost 90 points. You could have easily just given up 90 points, and it would be very, very difficult to recover from that. So Copycat is not a piece that I've ever really considered reliable. The choice between the two, definitely Mixelplick. I would choose Mixelplick over Nighthawk. Nighthawk is infinitely better in tactics, with power batteries and all that stuff. Not saying that he isn't powerful in Limited, but he is not as powerful in Limited because there are so many other options in tactics.
Not as limiting in Limited.
The man said it. I agree with everything. The man said it. I agree completely.
Oh, Tom.
I was saying Tom just as you said. I agree completely. Mike. Mike.
Mike?
Are you agreeing too, or?
I agree.
Okay, cool. Excellent. With
Glad
that
to
said,
speak for the group.
he's getting the good points across.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Fabricio Granados asks, what kind of thought process do you go through when making a map, or when trying to make it better? Or sorry, are you trying to make it better, friendly, and such? Sorry, he's his first language isn't English, so I'm going to try to read. What's your thought process when you're trying to make a map? Do you prioritize, making just a better map or a friendly map? What do you prioritize when creating a map?
Sure. So there's a real thought process that's involved here. The first thing that I look at is where I think holes in the meta are, and where I can feel like what I think is a gap. The second thing is trying to think of a location that would be attractive to people and that fills that gap. And then thirdly, I try to envision what would be the most creative and fun terrain at that location. Because like even if I chose Toronto, there would be a lot of choices on how to approach Toronto. I could just choose, to do a building or do a downtown area or a park. There are lots of choices that have to be made even after choosing a location about how you want to represent it with the art and with the type of terrain involved there. So that is my thought process. I look for a gap in the meta first. Then I choose a location that best represents the gap in that meta, and then I pick from there which terrain to do.
All right, and he has a second part that's more focused on the team. With Colossals, Nick Fury, Nighthawk, and Entities, what do you think is most underestimated, and how much more important is the map choice? I hope I translated that properly.
I would say right now, Colossals are the most underestimated, and I don't say that to say that they're the best out of those three choices. I say that they're underestimated because they are the least planned for. If you're playing in a format that allows entities, people are going to plan for you having entities. If both formats right now allow for Nick Fury, everyone is planning for Nick Fury. So no one really is going to be planning for colossal size figures right now because they're not as common. So even not colossal size figures, but figures like Mixoplick or the Miss Marvel from the Avengers set that can just grant colossal size to either themselves or to others. People are not thinking along those terms right now whenever they build their teams. So if you're looking for the answer for what's underestimated, that would be the answer.
All right, Mike?
In terms of, okay, sorry, just let me recap here. For some reason, my audio is kind of cutting in and out a little bit. What was the question?
Sorry. With Colossals, Nick, Nighthawk, and entities out there, what do you think is the most underestimated thing? And do you think, with map choice being as important going forward?
Oh God. Well, I think Wes covered a lot of what I would have said, but in terms of, that's a tough question. I think that if you can come up with something that's unique that people just aren't looking at, even if it isn't the most effective, the fact that they haven't planned for it will really, really help your team come across in the meta, in competitive clicks itself. So if you're sitting across from someone who's using Vamp or something like that, which is pretty terrible to begin with, they just will be taken aback. I mean, even if you have some common elements surrounding that character, it'll give you an advantage just in terms of surprise. I mean, most of what you're going to see out there, you will be prepared for, and you will have actually built to include, or at least you think will be able to fight it. And so when you bring something to the table that nobody else has seen, or nobody is expecting, or bringing back an older figure, not copycat, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the best figure, even though that will replace a figure on their team and throw them off. I think what would be more alarming is to bring something that people just haven't seen. I mean, right now in the modern meta, we have how many figures that are legal? I mean, like 400, 500?
It's not getting any smaller until July.
No, exactly. And we have several sets that will come out between now and then. And then we'll get back into the modern meta very briefly before retirement happens, so you'll see the return of the power batteries and the entities and everything else until the retirement happens. And so we'll end up with this almost shock of just regular meta before retirement happens again. So look back at what's legal now, like Slosh and some sets around then, and try and consider some of the things that nobody's really looking at.
Tom?
To address the latter part of the question, I can't think of a time in HeroClix history, at least as I've experienced it, where map choice has been more of a crucial factor in determining the outcome of games as it is now. Even setting aside, pieces that interact very specifically with certain types of maps, obviously your Banshees and Nick Furies with elevated arcade on his arena and stuff like that. There's also just the fact that there is, since the introduction of improved targeting and improved movement, not too long ago really, it has massively influenced the sheer number of characters that can get around variations in the terrain better than any time previously, or at least outside of the box of the usual leap, climb, and phasing, sort of the established ways of getting around terrain. And so in that way, it's just been building. Ever since those things have been introduced and we get more and more elaborate traits and special powers, there is an ever-growing diversity of ways of interacting between characters and the terrain. So, in terms of the question is how important is map? At this point, map is crucially important.
It's power creep, right? So as the older the game gets, the characters get a little bit more complex, have a little more abilities, and improved targeting and improved movement's an example of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of growing on Mike's point there is that everything, I'm finding there's less and less things I look at and go, there's no use for that. It just isn't happening to me anymore. And as the game has been progressing, I've actually looked back and reinvigorated some figures that I didn't originally think were great at the time, and then little pieces have added on to that. And that's what people are going to looking back in time, as Mike was saying, and pulling back that figure from the dust and saying, hey, there's something that makes you great now. Especially, I mean, if I was to go on a more generic term and just look at all the robots that all of a sudden existed prior to Age of Ultron, bring them back, because there's a ton of things that you can help make robots amazing. Or even since Avengers Assemble with Justin Safert, we saw a lot of people talking about some amazing robots from the past that become even more amazinger. And I'm making words up as I go, trust me.
Well done.
Amazinger.
Amazinger. that Safert brings right out of the dust pile. So
Spiral's an excellent example of that. Spiral, Eastern Brock came up with an awesome Spiral team using Justin Seifert and Batmite, and it was beastly.
And that's right on the bubble of what's going to get cut. So and as well though, some of these new things, the way people are talking about some things might be different from what might actually work. I don't think enough people are looking at the 75-point dial on that Brimstone. That throwing pulse wave is nuts.
It's legit.
It's pretty amazing.
There's something that can happen with that, and I don't know, a sniper rifle.
I mean, Brimstone and Steppenwolf, they released that article today, and I'd already been looking at Brimstone and Steppenwolf as a combo. That's going to be killer.
Yeah.
Or it could be brutal. Get it? Brutal.
I see what you did. Oh my God.
All right.
I'm clever.
All right. Matt Gray Kunos has another question. It turns out. Shenanigans, Swarm, Tentpole, Defensive, etc. Favorite strategy and why? Do I have to, how many times have I said it on the show? Do I have to keep saying mine?
No.
Okay, can I just look on my backpack I take to work. See this? See this? It's a Zerg symbol. A swarm. I'm done.
Oh my God, that's so abstract.
Swarm. Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
Swarm is something that I'm looking at right now. Very, very hardcore. The Ant-Man. Right now, the team that I'm really focused
That's
on
another
is
Tom Boner.
yeah.
Tom, stop poking me.
So I'll go ahead and say the team that I'm looking at playing against Rock is 3 Ant-Man, Manifold, and the Hawkeye movie that ignores characters from
Oh, I love that Hawkeye.
So it's Theme Team, it's Avengers, and I'm using I think it's the Heroic Avengers ATA because Manifold and the Hawkeyes, the Manifold and the Ant-Man would all be given move actions, and so it works really, really well with that Heroic Avengers ATA that will roll a dice, and if you roll a 6, you take off the action token.
Yeah,
So my first game, for example, against Eastern Brock at the Greensboro Super Q, I had ant swarms from 2 box sets because that's really the only way to make it work, and I still ran out of ant swarms. So I had over 20 ant swarms on the map, and it's like, what are you going to do? So Swarm right now is my definite strategy, and that also goes back to what I said earlier about Nick Fury. Because with that many characters on the board, Nick Fury doesn't have a really, really solid target. And you know that even after Nick Fury does shoot, you're going to be able to respond effectively. So you really absorb and diffuse that hit. And while they've put so many points into getting that hit, they don't nearly get the same amount of points back in return for it.
Mm-hmm. And so is this in relation to what Patrick is accusing you of clogging up ranks with?
Yes, absolutely. That's yes.
They're in raccoon woods. They're everywhere.
They were absolutely everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh, and guys, if you check out the Apex Insiders portion of the Majestic site, there was a brand new article that was put up today that's actually titled "Ants with Bombs." Something to look at.
I'm suddenly picturing clickers from Gears of War. I don't know if anybody played that, but there's little bugs that just they make a clicking noise and then they explode in your face. Boom! That's caused many a curse. Mike? I'm not going to accuse you. You got to say it.
I'm not saying anything.
Answer the man's question.
All right. I'm playing a lot of balance right now. A lot of balance player. I mean, my most comfortable has been Tentpole, but yeah, going forward, I think balance is really what I'm focusing on right now. But I have been playing more Swarm because I've been working on my gameplay with Swarm because I'm new to it.
I think a good balanced approach because so many teams leave support figures in the starting zone, and I like to think of support figures in the starting zone as free points. So a good balanced approach is to have a flyer, a normal size support piece, and a tiny size.
Yep.
If you can stay around that 3-figure unit, you don't need any points on the board. You stay very mobile, and it tends to be a very, very good balance.
All right, Tom?
It's hard to say. I think that at least Mike and Jason, you would both corroborate me in saying I don't know that I have a default style I always fall back on.
He put the word shenanigans in his question.
Sure. You know what?
I've actually accuse you every time of shenanigans.
I've actually
with Tom the most out of anybody, so I'm the most qualified to answer this for Tom. He just plays wacky.
I came up with a term that I like to, and those who would know what I'm talking about will get the reference. My favorite style of play is Rube Goldberg device. Have any of you ever heard of a Rube Goldberg device?
I am not familiar with that reference. No.
Okay. Do you know the board game Mousetrap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The concept is a net falls on a mouse, but to make that happen, you make it go through a series of gears and an incredibly complicated process. It's a very involved, long, and complicated process that leads to a very simple end. That is my preferred way to build at this point. It's try to get as many different characters interacting in as many different ways with as many different free actions and combat shares and borrow these combat values and modify from these combat values to TK to this point so that this person can move to here. So that in the end, I can be like, okay, now I'm going to attack. And it all comes down to an attack, and then I miss, and then I
That's like,
he said a lot of words there, but it all just sounded wacky to me.
Yeah, no, it is.
You've never brought one of these Rube Goldberg teams against me.
That's what I brought it to your house the other day and played Jay with it. That was my Hulk Cycle team was a Rube Goldberg team. But yeah, okay, shenanigans. If that's an option, I'll go with shenanigans.
Yeah. All right. We're calling it. I'm calling it shenanigans only because there wasn't an actual kind of thing that it falls under. All right. That said, Alan Christopher Hawkins asks. At one point, the game relied heavily on battlefield conditions as well as map. With WizKids moving towards map busters like Banshee, Nick Fury, Darkseid, Slosh, and others, do you agree that now would be a good time to reintroduce battlefield conditions? Amber, let me finish the question. All right, are we all going to just say no, get your battlefield conditions out of my game again? Keep them gone.
I'm really worried that's what the clicks of text is.
Oh, jeez. Don't say that, Amber.
I think Amber speaks for everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
You know what? Here's what you do with your battlefield conditions. You take them in a box. You find your feat cards because you need Tinder, and then you use the battlefield conditions as kindling. All right.
I think there's a simpler way of saying that. It's put them in the box and then kick them in the box.
I was saying burn them. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not even like these things.
Yeah. I don't want to be contrarian here, but
yes, you do because you're going to be contrary.
The existing battlefield conditions can't just be reinstated carte blanche. But the idea of reintroducing a mechanic akin to a battlefield condition, possibly something that is based in points and is more specifically tied to having, I don't know, you have to put on your team for a certain number of points, and what it does to the map is more closely controlled. I think that there's absolutely room to build into that direction. I think it's a type of mechanic, it's a type of thing that we don't currently have. That's all. That doesn't mean that you don't have to work out the kinks to it. But I think that there's room for it. It just has to be regulated well.
The problem is that
let you do more things.
Sorry, go ahead, Wesley.
The problem is that it wasn't really regulated very well, and you had battlefield conditions, like the one that flooded the map with water.
Atlantis.
I mean, yeah, that was a really, really tough one to deal with. My favorite battlefield condition, I think it was it Bright Sunny Day or a Clear Sunny Day that just Ordinary Day that removed the opponent's battlefield condition. That was my favorite one because it's like, okay, I play this and now we can actually play the game. And that's just because they weren't regulated well enough, and they weren't managed well enough. And I don't know if that regulation is simply higher point costs, or what. But I agree with Tom's analysis that there could be room for that mechanic if they were more tightly controlled than the way WizKids did it at first.
I just kind of want to point out that half of the characters of the Atlantis keyword have some form of light version of Atlantis Rising, and we have these special powers in order to do this. And I think that look at the Namor, the Phoenix 5 Namor that turns everything behind him into water, right? So we already kind of have that thing, but you have to devote your team to using it, right? So I think
Ocean Master does the same thing, right?
Effect that do that. You've got the right way. The Outsider can level elevated terrain. So that's another thing. I mean, we had the Serpent a while back that broke buildings.
Shaman turns off light. There are abilities that are map wide that I think are well costed and well balanced because it's as simple as killing that figure and then normal play, and then you can be able to do what you would
whatever you wanted to.
But the battlefield conditions that are extremely low costed, that are just there until the very, very end of the game, I don't know that was the best way to approach that.
They weren't just low costed; they were no costed.
Exactly. They were kind of weird in that way. But again, I don't think that it's a mechanic that necessarily needs to be. Well, the baby doesn't need to be thrown with the bathwater. There's a nugget of a good idea there. It's just it hasn't been well done in the past. I don't think feats were well done in the past, and in a way, it feels to me like resources are the modern version of feats, and people can take them or leave them. But I feel like they've done a better job with resources than they ever did with feats.
Absolutely, I agree with that. All right. So next up, Alex Blythe asks, what do you think Heroclix needs to get more popular and help the turnout at tournament events? I love this game, and the only thing that would make it better is if it was more and more people could join and it be as popular as possible. I think one of the biggest deficits the game has right now is something that WizKids approached with Dice Masters, and they really got to start readdressing with Heroclix. Bring a new starter set with every set, because we change these rules so frequently, and little things get added in. It's give us a new starter set. I mean, we're gonna buy these fast forces anyway, so throw in a rule book in them. I mean, you don't have to put a map. Just make sure there's a rule book and a PAC in there, so that we have a constant source of updated rules to get new players in.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, Jason, because I think that it is an absolute travesty that a new person can walk into a game store and walk up to the cashier and say, I want to learn how to play Heroclix. Give me everything that I need. And most game stores would not be able to supply them the current information and the tools that they need to learn how to play the game. That WizKids is relying on people to be able to go online, go to the internet, and do research, I think is a huge strategic mistake in their business plan. I don't know who made that decision, but I think that every Fast Forces kit should come with every single thing that you
That's
need
what Jason was saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Split the forces between your friends and go.
That's exactly what Jason was just saying.
What caused them to make that decision, but people need to be able to walk in the door and walk out with everything physical to play the game.
Yeah, that's what Jason was saying. I agree. I think that would make things a lot easier. Another idea would be to put together an actual starter kit outside of buying some figures that they could sell. They could package themselves. Maybe extend the dice and token kits so that they all have the starter in it. Because I mean, those are the things you need to start playing the game anyway.
Yeah. Or the dice and token kit. Throw in a rule book and a PAC.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a map.
And a map.
I'm starting to see a trend with maps. Actually, we're getting. So last year we had so many maps to choose from.
Yeah.
This year
we don't have a lot this year.
Once War Light is gone, you're going to see a drought of maps. We're going to actually see like the lowest number of maps since the Icons era, when all we had was the Icons map. And that's kind of frightening me, to be brutally honest, and it's concerning. So Just a thought
Well,
that
I mean, if you look at the amount of maps that Warlight provided to the meta, and if you go back over like the World Cup list, which I think is probably the best recent example, I would say probably every single person had a map on there from Warlight, and most people had 2, if not 3 maps on there from Warlight. I would say that the maps that were released from the Hank Pym set really didn't see a lot of ultra competitive play because they didn't have the extremes that people look for in like ranks and Riot.
Exactly.
Because that's what people look for in competitive meta maps. They look for extremes. So they didn't really have that in the other maps. So
I really like Pim's Lab, actually. I use it a lot, and I used it actually at my win at Provincials. It was the final in our final.
I enjoy that map too, but I just don't see it as much.
I don't see it as much
play because it's not really an extreme, you know.
Tom?
I agree with you guys. It's a hard question for me to answer. I would say that some of the things that have been done, or at least seem to be in process recently, I think are favorable moves as far as extending, bringing more people in. One of them being they were talking about simplifying the layout of sets so that the commons are simple figures and the uncommons less so, and the rares less so, and the really complicated figures with the super rare level. Largely because new players getting in are not really expected to suddenly drop every cent they've ever earned to become completionists from day one. That'll happen every now and again, but the majority of people, when they first get in, get their hands on some clicks. And by nature, they'll probably get commons before they'll get super rares in general. And thus, if the tendency is for new players to come in and get through the more commonly available figures, making those more commonly available figures also simpler figures for them to start with and learn with is a good way to ease them into the incredible complexity that is this game. More transparency of the rules, you've all mentioned it in one way, shape, or form or the other. More rule books. And also, they talked about the fact that when they were revising the Giant rules, one of the things they wanted to do was make it a little more intuitive and try to simplify the way in which size works. We can debate whether or not they succeeded with that, but that intention, and trying to carry that intention to however the next form of the rule book turns out, is a great way. Because I think that the biggest barrier to entry for new players at this point, the biggest two anyway, are cost and complexity. And I think that they can address the complexity issue by, as they say, clarifying those rules and making it so that the figures you're likely to get when you first get into this game are the simpler figures for you to learn with and play with. That's what. Yeah. So they're already doing those things. I think they're the right things. I think they need to double down and commit to it. I also love all the point costs ending in 5. So minor, but it's huge for helping you build your teams and keep things in your mind. I love that move too. So they're making some great moves. Keep it up, and I think that we're heading towards a good future.
Yeah. They slipped up once in the last set. I have to hold them accountable for it.
No.
Oh my God.
don't even act like.
What the hell, man?
Mike, you have anything to add to this? Or?
No. It's all good. Go ahead.
So we have one last question.
Okay.
Coming from Rich Allen. He asks, with the Superman, Wonder Woman, Colossal figures having low single-click dials with their Colossal retaliation abilities, do you think any will see meta play in ROC? And if so, which ones will see? Which one or which ones we will see the most?
Not limited.
Not limited because you cannot have bigger than an Oreo base.
Yeah,
it's kind of bad timing on the part of I guess the release of these new Colossals, because a lot of them are actually really kind of cool, especially at their like super low cost dial.
Once we get out of limited and get back to tactics, I could very easily see someone who's really spent some money having a team of just 4 or 5 of those guys, like Brimstones, for example. You could have a team of 4 or 5 Brimstones, and then Steppenwolf, and you have an Apocalypse theme team with +6 for your map roll, and you're just auto sending figures to the other side of the map, and they'll get all the bonuses from Steppenwolf for being there. So yes, and also the fact just the simple bonus of the fact that because you have flooded, your map, your starting area with these colossal-sized figures. Yeah, 3 or 4 of those colossal-sized figures, plus a power battery, plus your normal figures that you're actually fighting with. You're going to be extending your starting zone size because you're going to be filling up your starting zones. You'll get to move up a space or 2 extra that you would not have gotten to do normally, just because of the size of the figures that you have.
Yeah, and I mean, if I was to pick specific ones myself, Brimstone and the Superman Batman robot kind of stick out to me a lot. Superman Batman robot, just on pure numbers, is really, really strong. Plus, he's also a robot. But Brimstone is also a robot. Let's not forget that. And his Colossal Retaliation also comes with his penetrating poison power. So he Colossal Retaliates. Oh, by the way, that was a free action. Still being a turn. How's it going? Here's some poison.
Oh, so, poison.
Yeah, I mean...
Poison.
And if you put them in the right place and get a couple characters on the attack, that extra attack is great. And add on the sugar of a penetrating poison, and I mean, how can you really complain about that? Right? How's it going? Those are the ones I think are going to be the most seen. I would love the War Wheel to be great because its Colossal Retaliation is so good, but it's so hard to line up. And it takes one of your actions in order to do. So I think that's the one you're least likely to see, though somebody may, completely correct me, and I might be completely wrong. It's been known to happen.
It has happened.
It's happened before, many a time. In fact, ask Aaron when he wanted to comment about vehicles being in the meta. He's like, told you so. I was like, yeah, I agreed. I just chose the wrong vehicles. So, Tom?
Agreed. Obviously, we're not going to see them in limited. When that's over, come on. If you can't find room for between 15 and 25 points for one of these guys, then what are you doing? I mean, they're gonna be there at that kind of cost for what they can do. Am I really debating between playing that and playing Hydra Recruit? Not really. I mean, maybe Henry. Henry's pretty good for 15. But hey, the point is, you can find room for it.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, just the fact that y'all were talking about, he's such a huge taxi, right? 15 points for this character that can just, hey, I want to carry my guy all the way. I want to carry my Nick all the way up Ryu, right? And then I'm on top of him, and you have to get through my Brimstone so you can attack my Nick or whatever. It's such a huge thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mike?
I echo your sentiments.
Okay. I'm going to start letting you go first the next week.
No, it's all good, man.
So
you guys are covering it. This is a really good episode. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Listening to, you guys have all been playing along for longer than me, too. So, sometimes it's nice to actually just listen and agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've been winning.
Winning is nice.
Been winning.
That is true.
It's because he gets to mooch off all y'all for y'all's brain power.
That's it. Hey, wait!
The whole time.
That's the real meta.
Listen to Jay and Tom, and then work around that.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. That's the whole game.
I don't think it's quite that, but
No, I don't.
We're all good. We're all good. It's sometimes hearing some of the maps, I've never heard of some of these maps. Like the Junkyard, I never heard of, just because I wasn't around for it. And there is so much to learn. I mean, that's part of, I think, what would make this game easier to get into is just compiled lists of things that are in and around, things that are cool, things that are, different, almost like a compendium for meta play, compendium for casual play, compendium for playing in battle royals, because that is a totally different way of playing as well. Because generally, what you want to do is you want to let someone else go ahead and take a guy down to like 1 point of health left, and then you snipe them. That's how you win in those games. But basically putting together almost things to help people start would really help this game en masse. I mean, I use the term sport because it takes a long time to learn how to play. It's not one of those games where you can just like pick it up and automatically know how to play. It's there are plenty of games out there like that, but this is just not one of them. The end.
All right.
So with that said, Wes, how would you like to announce the winner of the
winner
of the map?
So I think the winner is definitely the guy who asked the second question, Charles Franklin. I thought his question was really thought out, and definitely he had put some real time into forging that. So let's give him the map. Charles, I'll be reaching out to you on Facebook.
Awesome.
If you want to add me first, my name is Wesley Allen Summers on Facebook, ALLAN, and that way if I message you, it doesn't go to like your other folder. I'll be reaching out to you and trying to get your shipping address and stuff so I can send you a brand new Gettysburg map. Congratulations.
All right. That's exciting news for and you get to save first 25. Now, are you ending it at midnight, or is it 1 o'clock that you end it, or?
So I am ending it in an hour and 12 minutes.
An hour and 12 minutes, so that's a midnight his time.
Yep, get in there, guys.
An hour and 12 minutes left. I've been doing it for our time for some reason. So you guys have an hour and 12 minutes. That's Central Time?
Yes, sir.
Yep, Central Time in order. Good night, hon. In order to get your map.
That was the. This has gone very long. I need to go to bed.
Exactly.
For very long, and I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
So, get out to hcatlas.com. You have an hour and 12 minutes to get the Gettysburg map. It's $25 a month. Get you an awesome, well-made map designed by Wesley.
Well worth it. We had a great time.
Giving us his chance, and Mike's gonna go grab it in the meantime. He's given us some sponsorship, and a lot of noise for him comes from us, and we do enjoy his company on the show to kind of talk about the product. Mike showing off the beautiful product right there. So.
Yep, that was super fun. Thank you for giving us that map to play on. It was a wonderful experience.
Thank y'all for playing on it. It was awesome to see somebody play on my map. It's just like oh my god, they're using it. That's wonderful. I'm very excited.
And if you guys missed it, check out on the channel, youtube.com/marriedwithclicks. Look for the MetaLab episode 54 pre-show game, and that's actually going to be the first. That's going to be a game that we filmed on the Gettysburg map with Mike and Tom playing a Civil War themed matchup.
Super fun.
I lost.
It was fun to watch, and the heck with you pro registration scumbags.
Hey, listen, I'm just trying to keep people safe, okay?
App was right.
At the price of freedom!
At the price of freedom. It sounds very appropriate for the now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, anyway, we won't get into that.
And with that said, as well, we are always glad to be brought to you in part by hcrealms.com. Click the shop button. You have a couple, I'm pretty sure a couple minutes still to check out their shop. $10 or more gets you 25% off on this Cyber Monday. As well, if you throw in the coupon code MARRIED in the checkout on the way out, you also get an additional 10% off, 35% off. What's wrong with that? That's amazing. And that's exciting news. I believe there's still a couple minutes. I don't know when that ends, so hopefully if you guys are watching live, you still got a little bit of chance. I'm not sure if you're watching the archive version that you're going to get that chance. As well, we're brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. Check out that site, the Apex Insiders premium site, to get some insight into some great minds of Heroclix. It's at a low price of $3 per month. You get some articles written by great players and myself.
And then there's Jason.
I mean well.
The community at large.
With that said, guys, thank you, Wes, for joining us. Thank you for watching live or on the archive. Thank you to all our sponsors. If you want to directly sponsor us as well, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Our patron hangout for December is going to be, for the November backers will be on Friday, December 11th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be live. If you have also about 9 minutes in order to get in on that on the last second, any patron of our Patreon is eligible for that. So $1 and up, you get in on that. We're really close to actually being able to get the money where your mouth is matches. So we're actually going to film one. Me and Mike have been rooting on this one for a while. And the rivalry is there. So it will get down, and we will release it so you guys get a taste of what we really want. If at the end of that all, as always, guys, on the way out, we have to say that practice
makes
your
team better.
Have a Good night, everybody.